There are many difficult things a woman will consider when receiving a breast cancer diagnosis. For some young women, the ability to have children after their treatment is one of those important considerations. 43-year-old Natasha Eaton was one of those women. She was diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer more than 10 years ago and says the cancer came as a complete shock.
I was laying in bed one night and I just rubbed my hand down the side of my breast and felt a lump. And, I freaked out and, went to my aunt's place and got her to double check, and she said I better get to the doctors straight away. I was scared and terrified and, it was really, I was shocked and, it was really scary.
Natasha's oncologist, Professor Fran Boyle, knew how important becoming a mother was to her, so she suggested she take part in the POEMS clinical trial conducted in Australia and New Zealand by Breast Cancer Trials.
I was at my oncologist's appointment and, she just suggested to me that because becoming a mother was very high on my priority list, that, this trial was available. I hadn't really heard much. I knew there was research going on, but never really been a part of it. So, she was very, she gave me a lot of information. She explained it all to me. So, I was quite happy to go with her recommendation.
The POEMS clinical trial offered a new treatment option for women with breast cancer to better preserve their fertility during cancer treatment. The chemotherapy many women receive during their breast cancer treatment destroys any remaining cancer cells after surgery to prevent these cells from growing and spreading to other parts of the body. 1 in 4 breast cancer patients like Natasha are premenopausal, and unfortunately a common long-term side effect of the chemotherapy is early menopause. The POEMS study, which stands for the Prevention of Early Menopause Study, took premenopausal women between the ages of 18 and 49 with breast cancer who were receiving chemotherapy and gave them the drug Gaserelin every 4 weeks. Gaserelin, which is sold under the brand name Zoladex, disrupts the body's hormonal feedback systems, resulting in reduced estrogen production. It essentially puts the body into menopause that can be reversed after treatment. And for Natasha, it proved very successful. She fell pregnant 6 months after finishing treatment.
I was really shocked to start with because I was not expecting. It wasn't something I was, I wasn't trying or anything like that. It was just something that happened. And it was a lot of mixed emotions. I didn't know what that meant to me medically. Whether, it was, it's not recommended, but, it was a very scary time, but also a joyous time as well to know that it worked.
Fast forward 10 years and Natasha and her son Jack are happy, healthy, and Natasha is cancer-free. Gaserelin is now offered to premenopausal women during their treatment as part of standard practice and is available on the PBS. One of those women offered Gaserelin is Australian country music star Catherine Britt. Catherine was diagnosed 3 years ago with stage 2A triple-negative breast cancer at age 30.
Oh, I think, there's so much that goes through your mind. Initially, it's just pure shock, and you don't really process what's been said. Feels a little bit like you're in a movie or something, and I was more checking on everyone else to make sure my husband and the doctor telling me was okay. They're looking at me like I was crazy. And it didn't hit me until I got to my parents' house and I said to my husband, how am I supposed to tell my dad that I have breast cancer? That's when it hit me. I don't know why. And I just went to the door and my dad opened the door and I just fell into his arms.
Catherine also had the added weight of letting her fans in on her diagnosis.
I wanted to do it properly, for sure, because I wanted to, once I came around, I wanted to use it as a tool to promote, people checking themselves, because I'm here today because I'm proactive about my health, and that's the only reason, because I'm totally a hypochondriac, but it saved my life. I waited a couple of weeks and I was on tour, so I had to go on stage and keep touring, and I knew it was this big, deep, dark secret, that I had to keep, which was a really strange feeling. And then, announced it on my Facebook the day before my surgery. So I tried to be very open and honest and hopefully inspire people to go check themselves. That was my goal.
Like Natasha, starting a family was a priority for Catherine.
I had IVF in case I didn't come out of menopause, so I did that first. Then I went straight into chemotherapy for 6 months. That was intense, 2 different types of chemotherapy. So it was 3 weekly for the first 3 months and then weekly for the last 3 months. And I got married in there somewhere. And then I had 5 weeks of radiation.
As part of her breast cancer treatment, Catherine was offered Goserelin and says she didn't hesitate.
Yeah, it was offered to me before I started chemo, and it was a bit of a no-brainer for me, If they have something that gives you an opportunity, I went for it straight away. It was kind of scary. I didn't know what going into menopause at 30 would be like. Now I know. It's not fun. But it was when I came out of it the other side and got my period and knew I could, I was going to be okay. And not long after fell pregnant. It was a pretty special thing. Yeah, I'll never forget that. I was actually booked in with my IVF doctor to see if everything was all good to go and should we start trying now, I left it a month or two, sort of waited till my periods were sort of regular. And then, I had to cancel the appointment because I was pregnant. So she called me and she said, "Oh my God, it's a miracle, baby. You fell so quickly." So, we were very excited.
Catherine appreciates that it's because of women like Natasha who have participated in clinical trials research, her and her husband James were able to have little baby Hank. Catherine and Natasha were given the opportunity to meet, and Catherine was able to share her gratitude for Natasha's involvement in the POEMS clinical trial.
Oh, I'm so grateful. And I've said it so many times today, and I mean it with everything I have. I'm honestly grateful that she was so brave to do that. I can't imagine going through all that and then facing also a trial and, all this stuff. It would have been so scary, and I just feel very proud of her, and she's obviously an amazing woman. So I'm really, really glad that I got to meet her.
Natasha says she encourages anyone who is offered a place on a clinical trial to consider it, as it may help you, but also future generations of women and men diagnosed with breast cancer.
Absolutely, I would recommend a clinical trial. It's, it also helps you, but it also can help so many other people in the future. It's very exciting to know that, something that I was a part of, let's, Hank be here and probably so many other babies. Yeah, it's really cool.
Breast Cancer Trials is the largest independent oncology clinical trials research group in Australia and New Zealand. We are committed to finding new and better treatments and prevention strategies for breast cancer through clinical trials research. Breast Cancer Trials currently has a number of open clinical trials. You can find out more at breastcancertrials.org.au or speak with your doctor to see if there is an open clinical trial that's right for you.